Well, how the hell do we follow that up? By asking the very simple question, Sharon Moore, we'll settle it on the field in November, or we'll settle it in November. Spencer, we come to the Michigan panic meter. Has that got you quaking in your boots about Michigan? Because tough talking Sharon Moore wants you to know we're going to settle it on the field in November.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous now. I might end up in the sky. No, I'm kidding. I'm not moving. I'm in the dark gray. I'm assuming you're with me. If we're still in the hanging out in the dark gray. If anything, Sharon Moore talking almost makes me feel better about beating the gray, because I think Ryan Day has learned at this point that he doesn't need to respond to any of that stuff. He just kind of keeps it okay, whatever. And I think this is just going to light the fire within the program even more to, okay, we just got to beat their ass next year. And if there's any other recruits that they can get in the transfer portal, or guys that maybe decide they're going to leave Michigan at some point in the next month or so, that maybe they'll steal and bring to Ohio State. I think they're just going to find more ways to sort of undermine that program and sort of rub it in their face when they meet in the field in November.
I just wish there was more gray we could go into. I wish it could be like.
Should we just make the meter an entire circle now? Life is a flat circle. The Michigan Panic meter is a flat circle.
I just don't know how much more gray, stunningly gray. I'm trying to think of other
what
shades
we need
of
is
gray.
We need this to become a graphic now that moves on a video board, where the meter shakes and it goes the farther you get into the gray, it just shakes even harder, that you're you're that deep into the gray now. That would be the way
is
to make it.
The college football, the EA Sports game when they did the crowd impact? When you were playing,
the controller would shake.
Yeah. The controller would shake.
We haven't even talked about that, by the way. We got to talk about that Friday. We haven't talked about the game at all.
Let's just do it now. We'll save the Saban thing till later in this week, because now you make me want to talk about college football. So the trailer came out last week, and we haven't had a chance to talk about it. The trailer literally has nothing to do with the game itself.
It didn't matter, Nick. I was at full mast.
Everybody was just ready and raring to go, because it was we're so ravenous for EA Sports College Football 2025.
I was in pre-coital delusion at that point. That's what I was.
Yes. It was pre-nut delusion, as it's called, and just ravenous. We need to get to post-nut clarity. That's where we are with college football 2025. But it's so funny, man, that the trailer was nothing but a dude talking just in generalities. Vagaries about college football. It could be, you could do that entire speech, you could put to almost anything in life, because it's so generic, but it's set to the backdrop of, college football jerseys being made. And it just made me want it that much more.
In the Rose Bowl, nonetheless. It was in the Rose Bowl was the backdrop. That was awesome. Yep. So I'm going to tell you, first of all, I talked about this at 92.3 as well on the air the other day, but this game is going to be I've been putting off investing in a PS5. So normally my strategy is the first year or two when the game systems come out, they're fully priced, and then the second year, around Christmas time, they do this $100 off thing for Black Friday or whatever, and that's usually when I go buy it. It's okay, I'm 2 years into it. There's still a longer life for this thing, and so I kind of waited. But the problem is this time around, because of COVID and the chip shortage and all that stuff, that never happened, where they did that rollback of the price and you got a better deal on it. So I didn't get it. I haven't bought one yet. And so I've been waiting. And I was there's going to be a cutoff where I have to just buy one, because I'm not going to get NCAA football 2025, or I guess they're not calling it that anymore. It's college football 2025. I'm not going to get that for a PS4. I have to get it for the new system.
Yep.
And so that time is coming. I'm going to have to the Pied Piper, or not the Pied Piper, but the taxes are going to come due, if you will. I'm going to have to pay for it at some point and just bite the bullet, because I got to play this game on the new system. So that's the one thing I'm kind of waiting for, is can I hit on a bet that'll give me the money I need to buy this thing, or am I just going to just bite the bullet and pay for it myself? And the other thing is my biggest concern for the game, which I don't know how you feel about this, but my biggest concern for the game is that they're going to do it. I think it was 2018 NBA 2K that they just went way too deep on the microtransactions, and that game was fucking awful because of it. So I'm deathly
You're talking
afraid.
about NIL and transfer portal.
Well, yeah, like because of the NIL stuff and they're paying the players. Like, I just wonder if it's going to be for your team to really have a chance to like land, like whatever team you start dynasty mode with. If you're for your team to really have a chance, you're going to have to spend all this extra money on. Well, hey, I'm going to go to this kid's living room and pay him this much money, and it actually comes out of your like it's basically like you're contributing to a collective in a video game, which is even stupider than it sounds. So that's my biggest fear, is that they're going to overdo with the microtransaction stuff, because I think that'll ruin things for a lot of people.
So I think that's a fair concern. I honestly, there were some years where recruiting, like the in between years, like towards the end, recruiting was so intuitive, or so not intuitive. Sorry, it was so deep in how much time you had to spend on it.
It was awesome.
I really think they need to take a page from the text-based sim game, where you can assign tasks. Basically, it's like a way to sim it, but you can assign tasks at like a daily, a weekly, a monthly level on like a game like Out of the Park, which is a baseball game. And what that allows you to do is it basically increases the importance of spending on assistants. So I think the simpler thing would be to allow yourself to, have the GM model, have the head coach model, have the assistant model, and then be able to assign tasks to individual. You can't do it all. Like, it wouldn't make sense if you could just sim literally everything. But it'd be cool to be able to say, all right, each assistant has 3 tasks this week, or each assistant has 3 things they're in control of when we sim. Like, I think that's the kind of thing that makes an incredible amount of sense, because if it's all about, well, the head coach has to do it, that might be as authentic as hell. But I do think you can lose people in the weeds. So that is my hope. I hope they get really creative. One of my favorite things that Madden used to do was when you had owner mode, you had GM mode, you had head coach mode.
Yeah, you could set the price for the hot dogs in the stadium. You remember that?
Yes. And I always would relocate a team. Like, I'd relocate Pittsburgh to St. Louis just to be a D. And then
you would literally sign up to be the GM of the Steelers.
I'd tank him into
just
the ground.
To move them.
I'd tank him into the ground, and then I'd move him to like LA.
What a
or whatever.
vindictive motherfucker to do some shit like that.
I don't think you've understood. I'm that guy. Okay. When I sports hate, I don't sports hate often, because I want to be as much of a sports fan of people as I can be. But if you land on the wrong side of me, I'm Hungarian. There's no going back. And honestly, I used to do it. I wouldn't do this to Michigan, but like when I would realign conferences, when they allowed conference realignment, I'd move Michigan to like the MAC, and then I'd move like Bowling Green up. Like, I'd do stuff like that.
God.
And so like my friends would log on and play with me, like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm like, vengeance, don't worry about it. But no, I mean, I'm so glad you mentioned the thing about, now I actually got to get a PS5, because I'm right there with you. Like, this is the game. Like, it's this, or if they actually did a Call of Duty that was about like like World War II, which I thought was my favorite one. World at War.
Oh yeah, your favorite war?
Yeah. Like,
I'm a big World War II guy.
Give me Civil War, although that'd be a little messed up. But the point is, now
we might be headed for another one of those. It is
going to the wrong direction. All right. Think post-nut clarity. We got to get to it. But no, I do think I think this game, or like a really great Call of Duty game that wasn't just whatever the crap they're doing now, are the 2 games that could really, or like honestly a Major League Baseball game that was more fun.
MLB The Show is good though. I love MLB The Show.
But to me, it's like Madden. It's like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's similar year to year. Yeah. The only thing I'll say, since we're naming games now, it's college football 2025, and for me, it's probably a Red Dead Redemption 3. That game is probably we've gone off, like, this has nothing to do with Ohio State football whatsoever. This episode of Sons of the Shoe here as we close it out.
I think they pick it up.
I think that Red Dead Redemption 3 or Red Dead Redemption 2 is like the best open world game ever created. That game is freaking fantastic.
So can I submit something?
Sure.
The GTA series, if they ever bring back Turf Wars, San Andreas, and I've
Well,
said
hey,
this.
6 is coming soon.
Yeah, but they're not going to do turf wars because it's insensitive, and I understand that. But turf wars to me, I used to spend, I mean, hours on end just snatching up turf and finding. Like, I'll be honest with you, I never made it to the end of the game because I didn't care. I only wanted everybody's turf, and I turned everybody's turf from purple and yellow into green like you would not believe. Now, I'm glad you mentioned other kind of franchises.
I played.
Because I
Listen,
wanted.
I played Red Dead Redemption 2 so much, especially during COVID, that I think I by the end of it, I was probably sitting there playing the game in a cowboy hat with boots on and a piece of straw coming out of my mouth, and was talking to my wife like this: "Hey, honey, what's for dinner tonight?" That's how much I played that game.
And was she like, I should have chosen better? Like, this is so. So real quick, how do you NCAA football? Do you go mid-major? Do you go small school and then build yourself up and then go, or do you try and go Ohio State? Do you try and go blue blood job right out of the gate?
So, I usually start with like doing the blue blood thing of which is like my favorite team, which would obviously be Ohio State. So I'll probably start one that's with Ohio State, and because I think like you have the ties to your own team, but then I think once you play at least like 1 year of that season and you get like your championship and all this different stuff, then I think I revert to like, okay, now I'm going to start at like a small school and see if I can work my way maybe back to Ohio State, but like work my way up in the way that like, other people have like done. And that is a fun way to do it. I think I usually start with just choosing my favorite team and do it. And then I kind of go from there. But I kind of like the idea of, especially now we haven't had this game since 14. And the idea, or I guess that would have been 13 going into 14. The idea that since I worked at Akron, like the idea of starting at one point in time, the idea of like starting with a program like Akron in the MAC and like building my way to something else, I think sounds like a lot of fun. So I'll probably will do that at some point.
I always, out of loyalty to my alma mater, I always start BG.
That's fair.
But there are so many programs that I have some sort of love with that were either not in the game because
I can't start with my alma mater, nor do I want to, because frankly, I don't want to give that place a championship.
I think you got to bring them from the Division III circuit. I think you got to bring them all the way up, like Delaware from Division II to Division I AA.
Well, I thought that because there was some talk that Notre Dame maybe wasn't going to be in the game. They just announced this week that they will be. Like they were working at the NIL stuff with their players, and I thought that they could just make my alma mater the Notre Dame wannabes in the game, and they could just replace them for a period of time.
So
that's basically what they are. They think they're Notre Dame, but they're not.
The team I'm most excited for is probably App State and the Charlotte 49ers. And I really fell in love with the Sun Belt when I lived in Charlotte.
App State looks awesome.
But like App State's unis are just badassery. Yeah. And so are the 49ers,
that campus is sweet too.
Like Boone is so, I mean, dude, I got to be honest with you. It's cold in Boone, and they have a lot of snow, and they have a lot of BS that I wouldn't want to put up with. But I'd love to have a cabin in Boone one time, I'll be. I don't know. I'd ever come down. I'd look like Daniel Boone. I'd look like Paul Bunyan. But getting back to it, there's probably 10 to 15 teams that would actually more than that. But there are, of the teams that weren't in the last version, there are 10 to 15 teams I can't wait to play as or play against. And I'm thinking about, I hope they give you a lot of control in the back end, because I want to set up a group of 5 playoff, but that's neither here nor there.
I also, one thing I always used to do real quick, because I loved Boise State's turf at the time. Like it was still like a fresh thing at the time. So I would always, when you could do like the create your schedule, I wouldn't even do like a home and home. Like, you know how these schools schedule like a home and home? I would just, every year I put Boise State on the road, like week 2 of the season. It was always a thing that I would do. I love that.
All right, guys, we got to bounce. Leave your comments in the section. Outside of Ohio State, who are you most excited to play in the NCAA football game? Leave the comments there. Do you take any umbrage with what Sharon Moore said? Leave the comments in the 92.3 The Fans YouTube channel, or hit us up on social media at Nick Wilson Says, at Spencito _. And please make sure to follow the show. Apple, Spotify, 92.3thefan.com, the free Odyssey app. We exist because you guys allow us to exist with your interest. We got to duck, guys, but thank you so much for hanging out with us today, and go Bucks.